feels like a spell my doom, but I've got a soul that can't diagnose. I've walked through fire and I'm still close to everything I'm meant to be, not just what they see. I'm not my diagnosis, I'm not their doubt. I've got a voice and I'm gonna shout. I've got dreams that won't be tamed, I've got joy they can't explain. So don't you write my story yet. I'm more than limits and regret. I'm still rising year by year. I'm not my diagnosis, I'm still here. Some days hurt, some days shine, but I've made peace with this heart of mine. I've got cracks, but they let light in. That's where the strength begins. No shame in being real, that's how I heal. I'm not my diagnosis, I'm not their doubt. I've got a voice and I'm gonna shout. I've got dreams that won't be tamed, I've got joy they can't explain. So don't you write my story yet. I'm more than limits and regret. I'm still rising.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Person Behind the Pen. I am Nick, your host, and I am the founder of Guiding Brilliant Writers Publishing. We have a very special episode today. In addition to speaking with a few of the co-authors of Volume 2 of We Choose to Be More Than Our Diagnoses, we have the very first person to review, or in advance, I should say, read the manuscript of one of Guiding Brilliant Writers' anthologies and to have a review printed in the book. So some of you know her, or I should say most of you who are present know her, and that would be none other than Jackie Hallberg. If you did see her post today as well on LinkedIn, you would see that she's sporting a tumbler that was compliments of the company. I want to give thank you to her. Jackie is probably one of our biggest, not probably, is one of our biggest fans. She has been with us from the very beginning. She has purchased every single book that has been published by this company. She's read many of them and reviewed them on Amazon as well. I have no doubt when she reads the rest that will happen too. She's purchased quite a bit of our merch. You would have seen her with our keychains. You would have seen her with our coffee mugs and our t-shirts. And I'm excited to announce that she's also part of the Guiding Brilliant Writers Marketing Collective. So we'll talk more about that at another time. That's just a little sneak peek of something that's going to be available coming soon enough. So I want to share today her review before we bring her up on stage. As a publisher, I have spoken regularly about recommendations and them being legit. And I feel the same way about reviews. This industry can, unfortunately, be a big game. And you guys all know I don't mince words. So I take it very seriously when people recommend my company as well as review any of our work. So this isn't given lightly. All right, so let's read Jackie's review. What a powerful anthology. Although each co-author and their diagnosis are all so different, the book flowed seamlessly, and I just couldn't wait to get to the next chapter. While reading this, I actually felt like I was in Yvette's classroom with her, and on that school bus with Jacob, and in the ravine with Lee. This doesn't just happen with good writers, but also with an amazing publishing team. They have made this book help us look at fellow humans in a whole different light, and it will be a game changer for those that feel isolated or stuck in a medical label. As a social worker with a background in reentry and child counseling, I had high hopes for this book, and it did not disappoint. So with that, we are going to bring Jackie right on up to the stage. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. It's so interesting reading or listening to your words being read out loud. And y'all, I do not use AI. So every one of those words were really thoughtful when I read your book, Nick. And I appreciate you being open to actually having a review because they had to have been terrified. You like literally had us turn it in what the day before it was going live to print.
Yes, I know. And, that's just me. Lots of flybys. But we're rolling. Can you hold on 1 second? Nelly, I'm live. Can you stop slurping water next to me? If
She
you
has
heard
to be on stage sometimes too.
Right. If you heard that, we are expecting thunderstorms in New York at any moment. And that was not the thunderstorm. Yes, that was a 55-pound staffy lapping of water. I should probably not be sitting here. Anyway, Jackie, again, thank you so much. And, it means a lot that you were the first person to do this. Like I said, you have been, following us for a long time. We have been friends for a long time. And you have written in several of our anthologies and we'll be writing in another one very soon. So I guess where I would like to start with you is, what was your thought in terms of, when you published, you were still somewhat new to writing and publishing.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you are reading these stories and you do know that many of the writers are in the same position or were in the same position that you were once in. So tell me a little bit about, did that change your perspective, like empathy wise or expectation wise, as you were going into the book?
So, fun fact, I actually have been published in 4 anthologies, and the last 2 were with you, Nick. And I had such a great experience being a co author in your books. You took care of your writers, you made sure that everything was good. So, I knew these co authors, even if they were nervous, they were going to have a good experience with you. So, I did not give them grace when I read their stories. Sorry. I mean, I read a lot. I was reading books this thick when I was in elementary school. Like my mom had books like The Exodus and Gone with the Wind. I was reading at a very young age. I knew I wanted to be published someday. I was a co-founder of a book club for like 7 years. I mean, I read a lot. And so I have high expectations of books I read. I also, last year when my son had his accident, my brain kind of got a little mushy and I have a hard time finishing books ever since then. And so when you said, hey, will you read this? I was like, oh, that means the whole book. But it was great. I didn't go easy on the authors when I was reading it, but when I wrote those words that I literally felt, and I'll talk about the authors that are going to come on stage when they get on stage, but I felt Yvette's classroom. Like I felt like I was there with her while she was going through her things that she poured into this book. Jacob riding that school bus and wanting to be so excited, but not knowing what was going to happen. I was just like, oh, I'm back in elementary school myself. It was phenomenal because there are some anthologies out there that are so different writing styles and confusing that it's not quite as easy to flow. And this was really easy to flow, even with their different writing styles.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's so important that with some of the co-authors getting to meet you now, that you were actually a co-author at one point with us as well. So there's already that resonance there. Tell me a little bit about your work in terms of, because I think the fact that you added what you do in the space of reentry and working with, kids lends a lot of credibility as well. Of course, I consider who it is I want to write these reviews because, obviously, your experience lends to your review and what it is you have to say. So what part did you feel that had to play?
Very much, actually, because so I'm a licensed social worker by background. I have done the school counseling. I've done direct therapy. I do reentry work, which is not therapeutic. It's more what we call restorative or accountability, reality focused. And so many people I work with that have been to jail or prison, or even the youth that have been to youth homes, detention facilities, so much of that is because they've held on to so much. They've been shamed. They've maybe made a bad decision themselves and nobody was there to support them. And then all of a sudden they they start having behavior issues or behavior issues that weren't treated or cognitive issues or physical disabilities. So much happens because we're told to keep it quiet, keep it behind closed doors. Just do better, just do harder. You got this. You're able to do it just like everybody else. And if we could break down those barriers more, you wouldn't be seeing the people in my office that I see, because they felt support. They felt like they weren't the only one. So many people, when they have a serious diagnosis, or if they have been shamed for the way their brain processes things, the way their body works or doesn't work, sometimes you have the opportunity to either lash out or withdraw. And if we could let people know that they are just as valued and beautiful and wonderful as every other person, then we wouldn't have some of that shame and that guilt and the anger and the violence and all the things that can actually happen. So I think it's very important that people realize that getting these stories in this book, especially this book, I mean, all your books are great, but the Diagnoses is about as personal as you can get. And being able to not just say, I can own this medical label that somebody gave me, but I am not less than because of it, is so powerful.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'm looking down because I'm trying to text my husband who's outside, because Nellie apparently wants to be in the show and she's barking a lot. I apologize. So, I'm glad that you shared all of that, because I think that there is a level of empathy from you as a reviewer. But I also love the fact that you shared, because you've read so very much, and because you worked with me as well, you didn't give grace. And that may not sound like great, but it also means that you're coming as a reader, as most of the other readers are coming, right?
Yeah.
They don't know these authors, and they aren't familiar with the process of guiding brilliant writers publishing.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for sharing that. All right, so I want to welcome everyone who's joined. I see you all out there. Gabe, you do not write all your comments with AI, so stop lying. I know that already. I did just call you out. And I know Yvette's somewhere here, and she agrees with me and is totally cracking up. Christy, thank you so much. I saw that you shared about the event. I really appreciate it. Leigh is also here in the audience. Leigh is also a co-author in the book. Linda is with us as well. Linda is going to be joining us in Legacy at the end of this year. And I do believe that somebody on stage will be joining us as well. She's here right now. Jairus and Yolanda, and I'm not going to scroll through all of them, but I want to tell you all thank you for being here. So before I bring Jade up, this event is it's one where guiding brilliant writers, often known for giving back, wants to continue to do so. So during the course of this show, we would like to ask people to comment #StrongerTogether. Okay, that's #StrongerTogether. This is not open to the co-authors. This is open to the rest of the audience. All right, so the first people that put up #StrongerTogether are going to get a copy of the book from Guiding Brilliant Writers. So keep that in mind as we go along. And please put in that #StrongerTogether at an appropriate time during the conversation. Okay, so I really want you to be listening and thinking about this. All right, so with that, let us go ahead and bring Jade to the stage. Hello, my friend, how are you?
Good, how are you? I am, the thunderstorms have passed me, so they're probably headed to you now.
Oh, great, thanks so much. So
Just a heads up.
I believe you're north of me, right? You're upstate?
Yeah, Westchester, outside the city.
Okay, so you sent it this week.
Yeah.
All right, I forgive you.
I'm sorry.
Interesting tidbit about how I know Jade. Her mom, Lisa Joyce, and I are friends, and Lisa wrote in Legacy at the end of last year. And so when this book was coming up, I reached out to her about Jade. And Jade was not at that point ready to be in the book. And I happened to meet her at Jason's event this year in person. And we started talking about what she went through with treating her bipolar disorder before she was weaned off of her medications, and how I navigate mine. And when, I asked again, that's how you realize that connecting with someone in real life can really and truly take things in a very different direction. So Jade, you were one of our younger writers, and the next guest that we have on, she's a mom. So I'm really excited for this because there are two very different perspectives here. So meet Jackie Hallberg. Jackie was one of the reviewers of the book. And I know when you cracked the book open and you read the review, you would have been surprised that here are people that reviewed the book, because like this is not something I had shared with the co-authors. Did you have any particular thoughts when you saw the review? Because that's the very first thing you would have read when you opened the book. At that point, I don't think you thought anybody had read the book yet.
I think kind of the entire process of writing it, I didn't even try and think about, oh yeah, one day people are going to read this. To me, it just like blinders went on a little bit, and it was like, this is mine until like it's not, and then it's out of my hands. So it definitely, yeah, just seeing the review, I'm like, oh, and then reading it and be like, okay, it was good. So it definitely was like, oh, that's the first thing you see, and that's the first like, oh, it's real. It was definitely like, it made it very real in that moment, which was definitely a good thing. Very nerve-wracking, because it's like, oh yeah, this is just out there. And like, everybody's saying everything's on the internet now, but like, it was scary and good because this is out there, but in a way that I wanted to put it out there. So it was there was that control to it that I liked.
I'm glad. I know that it's an entire process, and when launch day arrives, it's a whole different feeling. And then when you get your book in your hand, again, it's a whole different feeling. And now this just added another layer. So Jackie, I apologize, Shane. Do you want to say something?
Oh, no, go ahead. Call you.
So this is where I am totally going to open the floor to Jackie, who has read your story. And if she has any questions or comments about your story, I would love for her to share. Because as I always say, there are people out there who have read it, and outside of them leaving a review on Amazon, which all certainly do not, you will really never know. And this is a real opportunity to hear from someone in person what your story left them with.
Sorry, it's a little nerve-wracking.
No, do not be nervous.
Well, fun fact, Jade, is when Nick asked me to write the review, hey, would you read a pre-copy and everything? I legit thought she just wanted my review so she knew there'd be a good Amazon review out there. I did not know it was going to be posted in the book, and I certainly didn't know it was the first page of the book. I was like, oh my gosh, I am so glad that I was as thorough as I was, because sometimes when I get an Amazon review, I'm like, I just want to get my words out there. But seriously, being sometimes as a co-author, because there are different writing styles, there's different people's experiences. Sometimes it's a little hard to like compare yourself to other people or not compare yourself. And it's one of the things that I think are one of the worst traits that we have as humans, is always wanting to compare ourselves to other people. We are worse. We're not as rich or smart or as pretty or whatever. And we need to stop that, because every single chapter in this book has its own value. I kept wanting to be like, where's she going next? Where's she traveling next? Is she going to go back on different things? Is she not? Is this going to help other people realize, once you feel like you can't move forward without the medication, how paralyzing that must feel? And how can we support people before they get to that paralyzation? And so for you being so young, and I remember being younger than you, thinking I was so old and I knew everything. Seriously, the older you get, the more you're just like, man, I wish I could have relived my younger years. I keep thinking for you how positive your chapter ended after some tough stuff that you shared at the beginning of the chapter. And being that vulnerable at your age is powerful, because you could be pretty bitter.
And thankfully I didn't go there. Yeah, it's definitely been, I mean, like you said, you look back at your younger self and you're like, I was a child thinking I was, like, I saw a picture of myself at 14 and I was like, damn, I was young. Sorry. But and it's crazy how like in that time, in all those moments that I experienced at that age, because of everything I was either dealing with or just happening in life, you're like, I gotta be old and tough and I know everything, because if I don't, I'm gonna fall apart. But then looking back at a picture and you're like, oh wow, I look like a kid. And then seeing like all my cousins are at least 10 years younger than me, so seeing all of them and was like, oh, when I was their age, this is how I thought. And then seeing that behavior in them, wow, that's fascinating. And I'm 23. I'll probably look at myself in 10 years and be like, I'm still a child. I had no idea what I was doing. I was figuring out what country I wanted to go to next. So
I'm glad
it's
you said your age, because I was going to ask you to put that into perspective for us.
oh,
The ages, the age range you were at the time that you shared the story, because you became aware of your depression at a
mhm.
fairly tender age and worked through this at a time in adolescence where, wow, you are facing so many other emotions because you are
Mhm.
developing your identity and everything else around that. And you also were someone that did a lot of traveling. So you were not always in familiar surroundings when dealing with something as heavy as this, something that was new to you. And then if you would just share with us as well, um, what led to you learning or choosing to be weaned off of the medication?
Um, well, for the first part, like traveling and not being somewhere comfortable, a part of me has always felt the most comfortable in a place I've never been before. That I love exploring. I've sometimes, yeah, the most relaxed and at peace and grounded I've felt is 1,000 miles away from home. Um, and that's not like the people aspect. It's like the self. My feet are here. I'm looking at a sunset. I've never been to this spot in my life, and this view is beautiful, and this beach and this experience, and I'm so lucky to be here. Like that's the most grounded and at peace and that I feel, and I'll be halfway around the globe. So that's definitely just kind of an experience I've always been able to get myself into. Like even if I'm with a group of people, I'll just step to the side and just stare at the pretty colors. um, so then having that a- ability, I don't really know what to call it, was very helpful when I went off of my medication in a foreign country, thousands of miles from home, with people that I knew, but you know, they didn't know everything about me. They didn't know I was on these meds. I didn't tell anybody there that I was withdrawing when I went through that in Thailand. So I went out to the beach and I sat on a rock during low tide. It would go out and there was this old stone like wall just like halfway down the beach, and I would just sit on it, stare at the water, and take a couple deep breaths and remember, hey, I'm in Thailand on a beautiful island. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna get through it. And then once did that the second time, it was uh, I lived down the road from a lake, or from a reservoir that goes to New York City. So it was go and park my car on the side of the road and walk down to the water and take pictures. I would bring my parents' camera and just, this is gorgeous, and just have that grounding experience, whether I was halfway around the globe or half a mile from my house. I think that really was able to get me through those hard times. And even when like since being um, off medication, whenever things get too much, just having that feet in the grass, looking. A lot of I see Christy Williams. I love water, so a lot of
Yes.
my views include water because same.
I was going to comment that too, because you put yourself back in that space even when you are not on that beach in Thailand. And I
Mhm,
think that is so important. You bring yourself back to that space every time.
mhm.
And Leslie has a question. Were you the first of your friends to write in an anthology? And I'll add to that. Did you share with your friends?
So as far as I know, I'm the first. Honestly, I haven't. There are certain friends that know. I haven't, ran around, I guess, saying to everybody just because, sometimes I don't know how to bring it up. Like, hey, I'm in a
That's
book.
fair enough.
It's a pretty vulnerable thing that I wrote about. So I'm like, part of me is like a little afraid. I think also with opening the book and seeing that the first thing I'm going to read is a review is like, oh, they're going to, like, people in real life are going to know about it. And I haven't always stepped over that line.
Thank you, Jade, for sharing all of that. So I do want to ask Jackie, though, because she's someone that has traveled extensively. And I'm curious to know from her as well, do you have those experiences where whatever it is you may be facing in life at present, when you are away, do you feel it's something that you could face in a much different way? Do you feel,
Yeah, without a doubt. And I was so thankful that when I was reading your chapter, Jade, when you talked about withdrawing, first of all, thank you for getting through that, because that is nothing to just be like, oh yeah, I just withdrawed. No, that is not just a mental, but a physical response with your body. So at first I was like, oh no, she wasted 2 hours locked in her room all by herself. And instead you're just like, and I would go out to that beach and I would do this. I'm like, yes. So I have not traveled as much internationally as I wished. But I decided in 2021 to start solo traveling. Before that, I had never thought I could even go out to dinner by myself. And I've been to all 50 states, 26 of them by myself. I've been to tons of islands by myself. And the fact that you have done it at your age and you can acknowledge that grounding effect, because that was one of the first things that I noticed when I was by myself on my very first trip. I can remember it like it was right now, where the smells were stronger. I could hear things differently. I saw things that I know I would have totally walked by if I was sitting there chatting with a friend or even just listening to a friend talk. And that grounding is something you can't just do at your own apartment or house because you're worried about doing the dishes or the dog barking or this stuff. And when you are physically not having to take care of yourself quite as much in your normal space, it gives you a chance to open yourself up to be connected to things that you don't expect. We expect to maybe see some cool things. We expect to maybe meet some new people, but we don't always expect what the physical and mental experience is for ourselves when we're away from home by ourselves. So I am so proud of you for doing it all by yourself. I wish you didn't have to experience that withdrawal, girl, but you have just like leveled up the game, because I'm like, man, sometimes I get a little stressed when I'm by myself and I haven't had to go through withdrawal in another country. I mean, that's pretty intense stuff. So if anybody's listening right now and you haven't had the chance to travel, or you feel like you can't travel because of medication you're on or because of different things, we're not saying stop your medication and just go in another country. Make sure that it's managed, make sure that you're safe, but still know that you deserve extra experiences. If you can't jump on a plane or a train, maybe go around the block to a park you've never been to, go to a library in your hometown you've never been to, but try to do it if it's safe to do it alone and experience what Jade was talking about and being able to ground yourself in a way that you just can't in your normal everyday thing.
Mm-hmm. So much fact in here, and thank you so again, because when I consider, Jackie, what you are sharing, and Jay just doing this by intuition, right? Here's somebody that experienced a bit more of life, if you will, than you have, right? And she can see and has felt the benefits of something like this. And so I would love to know in the comments, people, if you too feel that you need to get away from your immediate environment and be able to address something that's really going on in your life. Jade, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We're going to bring you backstage, and I'm going to encourage everyone to scan the QR code next to Jackie and get a copy of it so you can read Jade's story. Jade, thank you so much, and we're going to bring you backstage.
All right.
All right. So we are at the halfway mark, and I want to say thank you so much to everyone that participated And, when you put hashtag stronger together, this is not just, oh, win a copy of the book. This is you being present. This is you showing that you are listening to the conversation and that you're also lending your voice to breaking the stigmas. So Christy D, Yolanda, and Kimberly, you have each won yourself a copy of the book. I would ask you to please DM myself or Leslie your address so I could go ahead and send that out to you. So we do have one more special giveaway tonight. And as always, I believe in rewarding people for their time and what they give to the people that come in to write these stories. If you are still with us and you have been following the conversation, we're about to bring up Cheyenne Syverson, the person that shows the best level of engagement with their comments during the second half of the show will receive a You Are More Than Your Diagnoses t-shirt from Guiding Brilliant Writers. And I say that because for you to wear this shirt, you are more than your diagnosis, whether or not you were diagnosed with. You are carrying a very serious message. This speaks to you and your identity. This speaks to anyone who sees you wearing this. So I would like to see in the comments, really and truly, as you listen to Cheyenne's story, as you listen to Jackie and Cheyenne converse with each other over her story, I want you to think carefully about what are some of the things you would say to someone who's a complete stranger who said to you, what does that t-shirt mean? Because again, this is not about dropping stories and running and making a couple of bucks. That is not what Guiding Brilliant Writers is about. Okay, and so your participation is what shows that you are behind breaking stigmas, and all the Guiding Brilliant Writers is trying to do with our movements with these breaking stigmas books. So with that, please I'll bring Cheyenne out. Hello, how are you, my friend? And thank you for your patience.
Absolutely. This is wonderful. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Nikki.
No problem. And I see you are wearing your shirt. You are more than your diagnoses.
Yep.
Wonderful. And Jackie is wearing her Guiding Brilliant Writers Book Club t-shirt as part of the GBW Marketing Collective. Okay, so seriously, how are you two? I mean, Cheyenne, you've been listening to Jackie talking. And you read her review. You heard me reread her review. Jackie, you have read her book. I am not going to ask any questions at this point because you saw what just happened between, Jade and Jackie and myself. So I'm going to leave it. One of you start the conversation. I am just totally muting myself.
I'm going to let Cheyenne start because I've been on stage for a half an hour. So Cheyenne.
Yeah, I'm grateful to have this opportunity to write. This is my first book to have participated in. And I had people ask, well, why didn't you just write your own story? Which I have one, Collecting Electronic Dust, I call it. And I said it was a great introduction to being a published author and to share my story with the goal of, not for the accolades, but just with the hopes to inspire one person to stand up and just live life and show their brilliance. Because just because you have what I call a different learning ability, it's not a disability. And it doesn't mean you're any less intelligent or any less valuable. And, to just shine your light because someone else needs to see it shine to guide their path.
That's so huge. Your title of your chapter, I was like, what is she going to mean by this? For some reason, I didn't connect it with hearing loss at first. And then all of a sudden I was like, what a fabulous title. So short, it makes sense. And I have literally been thinking about your title all day long. And I was sharing it with somebody at work, actually, because we were talking about what it's like to speak in front of people and how sometimes we kind of get caught up in talking and such. And I was talking about that visualization. Some people don't want to make eye contact when they're talking to people. They'll tell them, oh, look above your eyebrows or picture them in their underwear or something. And the way you explained how it connected with you, like I felt like I was right there on your shoulder waiting to see their faces so you could feel more relaxed and more comfortable to get your words out. You did a great job explaining that. And I really loved how you talked about balance, because I'm not going to lie, I know there's balance issues when we have ear infections and different things like that. I actually, after my very first cruise, I had what they call land sickness, which is almost like a vertigo. Like your body wants you to still be on that ship and you're not. And so I was a little unbalanced and dizzy and such like that. I never in all my life connected possible imbalance with actual hearing loss. And being able to be educated in a book like this, not just hearing your story and some of your experiences, but actually being able to learn from it. I was like, how did I not know that? Or how did I not think of that? Sometimes we get so caught up in our own daily lives or whatever's going on for us, we don't always think about that. So thank you so much for sharing so much detail in your story. I really felt like I learned from you, and that I talk very fast. I talk, as I'm moving and shaking my head and all the things. And I know I need to be more attentive for people when they either if they're aging, if they do have hearing loss, or if they are somebody that has gotten by with reading lips for whatever reason they've needed to. And so even though I'm talking fast right now, it really did make me think of things differently. So I think I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I just want to mention that Seeing to Hear was the title of her chapter, and Cheyenne has auditory difficulties. You might have gotten that from the conversation. So, that's why, and what Kimberly's saying here about great points about eye contact, Jackie, I think was so very important. And the fact that because Cheyenne took time to explain, right, about the different challenges she has, just having a conversation with people who are speaking quickly, who are looking all over the place and stuff like that. And then also speaking about the imbalance is only one of the things she shares. Okay, about the various other, not symptoms, but challenges of this disorder that she has, people would not realize. So sorry, I jumped right in there. About that, and I just want to share. It's a great conversation here. I can't believe a little higher up. I'm a little discombobulated today, aren't I? Yes, thank you for sharing. I think it's very important perspective and conversation to leave with our younger generation. So I wanted to highlight that as well. I know it might have been going back to Jade, but then it's coming forward as well. Because Cheyenne is also a parent. And Cheyenne, I would love for you to talk to us a little bit to the point of how what you experienced, right, living with, how this affected you as a parent and how it may have affected your child.
Yeah, so it affected me because it's a challenge for most people to interact, right? And because people will get short or frustrated when they have to repeat themselves. I'm like, I don't need you to yell. I just need you to get my attention first. I can't, just because I ask you to repeat it doesn't mean I need it louder. I just need to be able to connect the dots because my brain fills in the blanks, right? And so when someone gets louder, then the energy rises, right? And so it's important to keep that calm because I don't need the extra expressive anger, right? Because most people go into an anger state when they raise their voice. And so I really worked on teaching my boys that I can't control how I hear, but you can control your reaction to it. And I also made sure that I explained to them, especially when they started driving, that I wanted them to have the experience driving, but hey, keep me in mind, I don't like curves. And so they were so respectful to drive slower, even if there's time like driving out of the side of the car, going, okay, because some days my ears are fine and they're balanced and everything can drive along fine. And sometimes my brain is out of balance. And so every little curve almost, puts your mind into a tailspin. And so to be able to teach that from that experience and, be able to teach to advocate for yourself when things aren't going your way in the education system. And all those things are You just have to do it because no one's there going to come save you. You have to be open because people don't have ESP. They don't have the lens. They haven't had my experience. So they don't know what I feel. They don't know how I'm, why I do what I do until you open your mouth and tell them. But then it also makes them more aware so they can interact with people differently as well.
It's teaching your children a very different level of communication, which I think is so important. And I do have a question for Jackie on that. But first, I do want to answer Kimberly. And yes, it is an auditory processing disorder that Cheyenne lives with. And I want to share Stephen's comment. It's an empowering experience to engage the younger generations to have conversations via writing about weighty themes like mental health diagnoses. The earlier they start and the more diverse perspectives that are out there about it, the more enriched we will be morally. And I couldn't agree more. This is not just about giving the authors an opportunity to own their story and empower themselves and to teach what they have learned. It is about spreading awareness. And as you read these stories, you may think, well, what on earth could I possibly do, right? I can't make them better. I can't this, I can't that. But morally, what Stephen said, you can change your perspective and you can help others through sharing what you have read and learned about another person's story to see things in a different way. So Jackie, talk to me a little bit about communication, because I know you talked about how, speaking fast and things like that, but you communicate with so many people. I mean, diverse people, right? What would you say you have seen that might be similar to anything that Cheyenne has said, and has anything that she shared in her chapter you think shed light on a better way that we could communicate with not just each other, but when we're speaking about, the way she addressed her kids, to let them know something as simple as taking a curve in a car, which is very like, hey, this is a real life, easy to understand situation.
So two things really jump out, Nick. First of all, in different cultures, especially the American culture, we are taught from a younger age, keep your voice to yourself. Don't ask questions. Just do what we're telling you. Don't do this. And so we start kids off very young. Keep quiet, be quiet. The adults are talking. You need to be silent in the classroom until the teacher calls on you. We teach people not to communicate, and we need to switch that and start letting them communicate at a very young age. Talking to your boys like you did, and saying, it's up to you how you're going to respond, because mom's not always in control of what I can hear and what I can't, when I'm going to be imbalanced and when I'm not. Being able to use those words models how our kids are going to be able to communicate with other humans down the world. So also in my day job, I do what's called mediation or conflict resolution, where people are very unhappy with another human being. And so even if they aren't filled with anger, they usually walk into the room already not liking that person, having a grudge against them, not believing that they're going to trust them. And so even if they don't get animated with their words, or they're not super, angry sounding, you have to break down barriers just when people are in rooms together, even when the words aren't being said. So Cheyenne, in your chapter, you talked twice, I think it was, about because you couldn't always hear the words, you were able to read their energy level, and how you could sometimes be in a room with somebody and know that they were not legit. And that's a skill that so many of us that are so busy talking or talking over other people, or we're listening to our music and we're not really paying attention when people are giving us really important information, we tend to gloss over that energy vibe. And that energy with other humans is so important, because I can tell you, oh, you're the coolest person in the world. And if I don't mean it, some people are going to see me being fake, or they're going to be like, wow, I can't trust her ever, because she's just saying what she thinks I want to hear. Where other people are going to be like, you know what, you're amazing, but your book sucked. That's a whole different vibe. I'm going to be honest with you, but I'm not going to try to be mean about it. And that's something that communication can literally impact people for decades. Because if you said a word to me sometimes that's never going to get out of my head. Or if you reacted a certain way when I expected you to act a way because you had been doing it before, then it just hits you so much. So I really thank you for acknowledging that. And I really wish people, and when you read her chapter, if you already read it, I want you to go back if you don't remember this part of her chapter. I really want you to sit with that fact of, how do you read people's energy? Do you walk in a room and you're talking so fast that you don't even vibe if they've had a bad day, if they're coming in with guns blazing because they're ticked off at you before they even got to meet you? Really think about that energy before the word's spoken. And then when the word's spoken, you can really start to see if they're legit or not. So thank you so much for sharing that part.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, your actions speak volumes, and a lot of people miss that. I don't know how many times I've been around people that give you a lot of lip service, is what I call it. And in reality, they're just doing that, right? Their actions don't follow their words. And it's so important to pay attention, because their honest feelings are being shown in that energy, their action, their follow through, like how they're interacting with you. You know, and it's the same with like when I shared in the story about my son, and you know, his teacher thought he needed language help, and I was like, yeah, whatever he needs, I just want him to be successful, right? And they did the test and he scored at or above normal on the entire thing, and she was blown away. You could totally see her energy, that she was almost mad and angry that he didn't fail. And sure, he didn't get the language help, but he didn't need it. Like, he was learning, he just didn't care to show it because of his ADHD, and he's brilliant. He's very smart. And I don't know how many times I'd tell him, I was like, you are super intelligent, you just don't fit that box. You're a star they're trying to shove into a box. He's like, well, the school doesn't believe it. I'm like, but there are so many people that are so accomplished, that have risen above it and have became influencers and business owners and so successful in life because they didn't use it as a crutch, and they just rose above it and did it anyways. And that's where you have to just advocate for yourself and keep training yourself. How can I improve? Who cares what everybody else says? So
you took lip service to, like to another level, because it's not just, about walking our talk, but I honestly feel your diagnosis gives you an edge in communication, right? Because you have now the sixth sense, like you said, that, half the time people aren't even paying attention. Like Jackie says, they're looking at their phone while people are talking, and I do that to my husband. Oops. And, you're not paying attention to facial expressions. You're not paying, and we talk about it all the time, the non-verbal communication that happens. And so because of your diagnosis, you actually have honed all of those other skills. You're very perceptive. Tell me a little bit about Inspiring Solutions for You, what it is that you do with your company.
So I provide customized financial coaching and solutions, but I come at it from life experience, because I'm often referred to as a life coach with a financial emphasis because of all this experience, all the things that I've experienced. I can come to you and say, hey, here's another way to look at it. And so it's really that customized service to meet people where they're at. I say play offense instead of defense with their money, so they can be prepared when life happens, because you never know, And so I'm just passionate about helping people and inspiring people. And it might not just be money. It might just be a mindset shift. It just might be a brainstorming session to suggest different things for them, right? So I just love it. I just love helping people and leverage how I listen to people, because I listen differently.
Yeah, I want people to also, understand that having these diagnoses, the various ones, is not a handicap to what you want to do in life. She has started her own company, and she is pursuing something that means something to her, right? This has not held her back from being able to employ herself, not just have employment. So, Cheyenne, again, thank you so much. And are there any parting words that you would like to leave? And Jackie, I'm also going to ask you after Cheyenne to stay on just for a couple of minutes more and share what's going on with you. So, Cheyenne, what would you like our audience to know? What would you say to them to encourage them to go and read not just your story and Jade's story, but to go and read this book?
read this book to get a new perspective, to see life through a different lens. Because what I realize is, my parents and the people around me and my kids have done the best they could, but they didn't have my experiences. So not only am I asking people not to judge people with the challenges, but also the people that don't have those similar challenges, because they don't have those experiences of that lens to see it through. So it's hard for them to come in and understand because they haven't been there, and that's okay. I think so much it's easy to be judgmental or critical of maybe someone's energy or their comments or different things like that. But in reality, they've never experienced it. They couldn't have, because we all have a different set of experiences. And just to read that and feel empowered to just go shine your light, because you don't know when your story will empower someone else to get up the next day. And that's what it's really all about.
That was beautifully shared. What a great call to action. Please scan the QR code up there. Get a copy of the book. Go read all the stories. Come back to Amazon. Leave your review. Cheyenne is on LinkedIn. You can reach out to her directly and share how her story impacted you. Cheyenne, thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you backstage.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Oh, my friend, you have sat here with us for almost an hour, and I want to thank you so much. I don't want to use the word validate, because that's not the word that I want to use. You witnessed these writers tonight. You did not just witness their writing. You witnessed their desire to want to do something with their story. And you took that and helped them put it out there even more by sharing how you felt reading them. So I want to take these last few minutes to talk about Jackie. Who is Jackie? What's Jackie up to? What's coming next for her? You do a lot to support me. You do a lot to support the community. You bring the authors on your show. You are always talking about the launches that are coming. And now you doing this review is just really and truly taking another step. So let's hear about you now.
All right. Oh, I appreciate that. First of all, love seeing the comments of support to the two co-authors that were on tonight. That is what this is all about. Not only are they launching themselves out in public eye, they're launching their personal self out there. So thank you guys for supporting them. In both of their chapters, actually, one thing that I didn't share right away is you heard how adults did not take care of them as kids. And I'm not saying their parents, I'm saying you heard, some from Cheyenne just now about even her son. The teacher was almost mad when he didn't complete a diagnosis. With Jade, she talks in her chapter about how she finally just disengaged from school because the teachers were not there for her. And this is not a bashing teacher thing, by the way. What it is it's kind of a bashing an adult thing. We do not listen to our kiddos. We do not support our kiddos the amount that they deserve, because as adults, we get caught up in our own life, our own stress, our own jobs, our own paying the bills. This book really makes you step back a little bit and realize the impact just one adult can have on other people. And so that's kind of what I do in my personal world. I run a nonprofit during the day, and we focus on reducing crime and conflict. I would love to be worked out of business someday because people were able to communicate and people were able to talk about what was bothering them or impacting their family or impacting them as a school teacher that can't communicate with students, as a business owner that can't communicate with their staff well. So I do that on my side with my business is called Just Jack's Advising. And so if you are struggling with, I don't even know how to manage with this family, I just want this kid out of my room, I can help you with that if you're open to it. If you are struggling with your relationship, a lot of times when we do have medical or mental health issues in our family, whether it's our child, whether it's a grandparent, your own sibling, or it's your partner, it can impact your relationship and the household dynamics. And the more stress that happens, the more we shut the door on help. And I don't want to tell people they'll judge me. I am a safe person. Unless there is active abuse going on, I'm not going to share your business and I'm not going to judge you. So if you're interested in some of those services, please follow me on LinkedIn. I have a lot of information to share. I post almost daily on LinkedIn, lots of really good stuff. If you want to find me on TikTok, I talk more about dating and relationships, and I'm a little bit more on the risque side over there. I'm not on the LinkedIn side, but we can talk about it all for you. I also run a live show just like this on Monday nights, every single Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And my whole value of doing that show is to highlight diverse people around the globe and talk about tough topics to help reduce stigma. So when Nick gives me compliments about thanking her authors and supporting her business, I want to say that I will always walk the walk. I am here to support people that are willing to step up and say, hey, I just launched a business. Can you help me? Because I've had a lot of people not support my business. Hey, I'm going to talk about my history, my bad times in life, my diagnoses. Yeah, I wish people would have been there for me back in the day. So I want to be there for them. So if you're interested in being a guest on my show, you have to reach out to me. There is only 2 requirements to be on my show. Maybe now there's 3 after I had to share last night. 1 is I need you to watch at least episode and put some comments in so I know you know what my vibe of my show is. 2, you cannot disrespect anybody on my show. And that doesn't mean just people listening. It means you don't disrespect other cultures, other religions, other humans. And number 3, you don't expect money to be on my show. Okay. I'm not charging you. I'm trying to support you to make the world a better place. When we learn more about people, we realize how much more alike we are than different. And that's how the world starts healing. I am excited to share that on Monday night, this coming Monday, the first Monday in August, Nick and some of her amazing co-authors will actually be guests of Just Jackson Guests. And I will be creating that event in the next day or 2. So make sure you set those alarms. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, one of the only times Nick stays awake this late at night, and she's going to unfortunately have to be awake enough to be on camera. So we're going to all send her good juju. She takes some naps on next Monday because, as you see tonight, she loves her co-author. She's loving being able to give a voice to people that so many times hurt over their life. Don't talk. What you're saying isn't important. I don't want to listen to you. Listen to me instead. So I cannot thank you enough, Nick. I will always support your business and your co-authors unless they started getting disrespectful, which is not going to happen. I can't wait for you and I to talk more in the next few months about some stuff we're doing behind the scenes. So stay tuned. Follow both of us if you haven't, because we got some good stuff ahead of us.
Yes, we do. And you crack me up. She's right. I am an old fart and I do not like to stay up late. I'll take a nap on Monday just so I can catch Jackie's show on a Monday night. All right, my friend, I'm going to bring you backstage and I will see you there shortly. Just kidding. Oh, there you are. Okay, so hopefully I'm a little bit better at hosting the show than I am at operating the controls to bring people on and off the stage. I don't pretend to be good at any of that. I'm a good publisher. It's been a great conversation, and I hope that you took a lot away from it. And there have been some wonderful comments there. And right now, I would really like to show that comment, the last one that Stephen Eng put up. So let me just grab that. Okay, it's hard for someone to directly relate to your life experiences if they haven't had the same experiences. But having an openness to alternate perspectives via books helps to counter our blind spots, and that brings impact. Stephen, you are a winner tonight. I'm going to send you a t-shirt of You Are More Than Your Diagnoses. I want to thank you for your engaging comments. I know the community in general knows you to be someone that's very attentive when they are in a show. And, you know, I would bring this back around to what Jackie said about being a guest on her show. One of the requirements is that you look at the show, so you understand what the show is about. And if you are listening, you're going to have an applicable comment to make. It is the same thing about coming here. And I hope it's something people take away as authenticity, not just with Guiding Brilliant Writers, but with Just Jacks as well. It's not about showing up for vanity metrics to say, I'm here. No. You're here because you want to be here, because you want to participate in the conversation, because you think you're taking something, know you're taking something away. And that is something that you're going to share with someone else as well. These shows and these things that we do are not just about our purpose and our livelihood. There are things that go on to impact people that we will never meet, and it impacts their purpose and their livelihoods as well. So we take this very seriously. I want to also say hello to April, who's out there in the audience. April is a new friend, and she will also be writing in Legacy Volume 4 at the end of this year, as will Jackie. So that is the anthology call that is open now, the Legacy Chronicles, Volume 4. My Story is My Legacy. Please reach out if you would like to participate. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I will get all the information I need to get everything out to everybody that participated in the hashtag Stronger Together. And please, as you go away this week until you join us next week, where we will have Mary Kay and a couple of other guests for a very special episode of talking about ghostwriting. This time, you're not going to be meeting co-authors of the book or any of the authors of solo books. We are going to talk about the merits of ghostwriting. All right, so have a wonderful night, and we will see you soon.